Hi, welcome to the fourth Coffee with Kabara. This is Joe Hudson. He's my guest
Hi,
today.
everybody. How are you doing?
This is the February 2020 Coffee with Kabara. Last month, of course, I spoke with Mike Kenyon, who is a lender, talking about how to either refinance a house, qualify for a loan while you're going through divorce. Today, Joe is going to be giving us kind of an abridged version of his first-time home buyers seminar. He presents this all over the DC metro area, and we're going to tell you how you can attend one too if you're interested in hearing more from him. Joe is a vice principal with the Oakley Group with Compass Realty. He's licensed in DC and Virginia, and he's been working in real estate for over 5 years. He specializes in helping first-time home buyers understand the process and achieve their dreams of home ownership. Joe's also written numerous articles about the real estate market in the area for the Washington Blade. He's a musician and has some awesome tattoos to prove it. What? There you go. And he also speaks Spanish, which is a big plus in this area. So, as March approaches, as someone not at all involved in real estate, I think of March as being like a prime time to list your house and start looking, because people want to kind of get a house ready and in place so that then when the summer comes, the kids are out of school, they can move. Did I just make that up, or is that kind of a pattern?
No, that is definitely a pattern, especially with the warmer weather we've been having recently. It's been feeling more like spring. I mean, as you drive around, you can see there's more plants and trees that are already blooming. So that's basically making spring market, which is the busiest part of the year for real estate, happen as we speak. I did an open house on Sunday. There were a lot of people coming to my open house, and there were definitely people there who were thinking along the same lines of what you were just talking about. They were starting to look this past weekend because they want to be able to move by the summertime. They have kids. So this is the best time of year. If you want to be in a new home by midsummer or late spring, early fall, this is the best time of year to start talking with a lender, because you want to find out what you need to do to get yourself positioned to be able to close on a house in June, July, or August, which means if you need to get your credit score up an extra 50 points, qualify for a better interest rate, if you need to pay off a certain loan, or just deal with some sort of financial aspect of your own personal life that could position you to be in a better spot in the next few months, you want to be talking with the experts on those issues.
And of course, we're good at focusing on first-time home buyers today, but of course, if you're someone that's looking to sell, you also want to have that lead time in case you need to get your house in shape, right?
Exactly. If you want to buy some new appliances to make the kitchen look a little nicer, if you want to put in, put in a fresh coat of paint, if you want to neutralize your house and make it look more buyer ready than taste specific to whatever you've done to it over the past few years, you're going to maybe need a couple months to get it ready for that.
Right. So as I've said a couple times, we're going to be going over your first time home buyer seminar today. And what made you create that program?
I believe that, this is sort of like something that people only do a few times in their lives, and whether or not it's their first time that they've done it, or they're just going to do it for the second or third time, but maybe it's been 5, 6, 7 years since you've done it. There's a whole lingo related to real estate that people in real estate use on a daily basis, but the average person isn't talking about. Assessments, appraisals, contingencies. They're not using that language on a daily basis. So sometimes it's good to either go over all that stuff on the front end so that you're not surprised when you're getting to certain steps of the process as you go through it, or have a little refresher 30-minute to an hour-long course of what is the terminology of real estate, what are the steps that what's going to happen next once you go under contract, what are the next things you need to do that first week, that second week, that third week. It's just easier to go over it on the front end and just kind of set everyone's expectations and have, confusing situations pop up halfway through it and then have to explain it all over or for the first time.
And what excites you about working with first-time home buyers, would you say?
One of the parts of my job that I like the most is just basically seeing someone come to one of my homeowner home buyer seminars, and they're literally at the very beginning of the stage of the process, and they're at step one, which is just picking the real estate agent, finding out who a lender is that they could even talk to, and going through the entire process and then getting to the congrats and celebrate where they're actually getting the keys to their house. I'm handing them a bottle of champagne, and they did it. They went through this whole process that they didn't know they could go through.
Right. So this that Joe just held up is his 9 steps on the way to home ownership that he's kind of created and that he goes over in much more detail, of course, at the seminar. Yes. But what would you say are your top tips for first-time home buyers?
I think the top tips are to talk with your lender early in the process and kind of work out whatever financial kinks you can work out on the front end of the whole process, so that the week of closing, you're not having to run to the bank and get a check for something that you thought was going to be taken care of. Just communication is key. It's better to bring up any sort of hiccup or anything that could sort of interrupt the process and just be forthcoming with it with your agent and with your lender, because chances are your agent, your lender have probably been through this type of hiccup before and can help you work it out. But if you stick your head in the sand and just sort of hope it will work itself out, and then 2 days before closing, it hasn't gotten worked out and everyone's scrambling at the last minute to fix things, that's just not good ever. So it's easier to bring it up in the front end.
Well, and my philosophy of life, right, is to surround myself with experts in areas I'm not experts in, so that I don't have to reinvent the wheel for myself. Maybe, maybe it's just me being lazy, or maybe it's me being a genius. It's definitely one of those two. But
lazy genius.
I'll take it. So I would much rather, call up my realtor and have them answer a question for me and work through a problem for me, having, like you said, gone through it a million times before, than me trying to come up with something on my own. Even if I come up with a solution, it's going to be not the best, or it's going to be messed up in some other way. So how many steps? So we just showed that there are 9 steps in the home buying process. What do you think are the steps that first-time home buyers sometimes gloss over or don't realize before they're in the process are going to happen?
I think steps 6 and 7, where your agent presents the offer and the contingencies, inspections, and appraisals, can sometimes be, that's basically where you're literally getting over the hump of, I'm gone from just looking to now I'm actually writing an offer. And that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where each paragraph of the contract has weight and importance to it, and a good agent can explain that to their clients. Inspections, contingencies are basically protections that are built in for a buyer. And we go further into detail on those in the homebuyer seminar. But they're protections that help you, if you're going to keep you from buying a money pit, or keep you from, your lender will sometimes be able to issue a rejection letter for a place. Let's say you're buying a condo and the condo association is way behind on collecting its dues from the various condo owners, and the finances in the condo building aren't good. And you didn't know that until you got into your contingency period of examining the condo docs. And then lo and behold, you find out that there's a huge amount of debt there, and this condo association is, it's kind of scary to buy in. Well, then your lender, if you have a financing contingency, can issue a rejection and get you out of that contract without losing any of your earnest money deposit or any of the money you've put down already. And you can kind of just go back and start looking again. So I had that happen to a client of mine last year.
And of course, you would much rather, like marriage, call off the engagement, right, than have to get divorced.
Exactly.
Right.
That's exactly what that is.
So is there anything that I should have asked you but didn't?
Well, I think knowing that I'm having these homebuyer seminars is good. And I'll be doing one on March 10th in Washington, D.C. in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood. I'll be doing another one in April, probably in the Shaw Howard U Street area.
And I'll share both of those on this page.
I occasionally do them at the Compass Arlington office in the Clarendon neighborhood. And I will always be up for meeting people outside of those seminar times if they have questions more about this process.
And at the seminars, is it just you, or do you bring in any other experts in the area?
At my buyer seminars, I usually bring in a lender who can answer questions on the various financing options, down payment assistance programs, first-time homebuyer programs that different jurisdictions have. At the one-on-one meetings, I don't always bring a lender, but then we can loop them in at the appropriate point of the process.
Mm-hmm. And are there any other resources in this area that people should be aware of if they want to learn more about the topic in general? If they aren't able to make it to a home buying seminar, what should they be doing or looking at?
There's a website called Urban Turf, which has a lot of information about just real estate in the DC area. I think Maryland, DC, and Virginia, but it also has some resources on their website about what some of the real estate terminology is, what types of contracts and what types of contingencies, and just all the stuff that's related to real estate. It's got a little bit of like a home buyer 101 section to their website. I always recommend people examine that because that can sometimes help them have better questions to bring to the different homebuyer seminars or meetings that I have.
I imagine they can also read some of your articles in the Blade.
They could also read some of my articles in the Blade. So if you Google Washington Blade Joseph Hudson, there's about a dozen or so articles, I believe, up there.
Awesome. And how can people get in touch with you?
I have a Facebook page, which is Joseph Hudson Realtor. I am reachable at joseph.hudson@compass.com.
And I assume if they Google your name and Compass, your webpage will pop
my
right up.
webpage will come up if they look up the Oakley Group, or if they want to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Joe Sells Homes to you.
Ah,
Mm-hmm.
cute.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. This has been a very brief discussion with Joe Hudson and his first time homebuyer seminar, which again, you can learn way more about by just attending one of the seminars or reaching out to Joe, and he can essentially give you your own personalized version of the seminar whenever works for you.
Well, thank you for having me on today, Kabara. I hope this was helpful to everyone watching.
Well, it was helpful to me. I've never even heard of Urban Turf. I love having people on because I learn stuff I didn't know about all the time. My next Coffee with Kabara will be Monday, March 16th, 2020 at 10 a.m. I'm going to be talking with Tashina Gorgoni, who's a partner here at Maddox and Jurok, and she's going to be talking about what we call relocation cases, which means you have a custody order, you have kids with an ex, but now you want to move away from DC. How do you do that? How do you maintain a custodial arrangement with them? Again, I'm Kabara Korth-Praskovich. I'm counsel at Maddox and Jurok. You can connect with me here on Facebook. Facebook.com/ATTYKABARA. I'm also on LinkedIn.
And if you need to find an experienced realtor in another major American city, I can always find a referral agent from Compass to help you in a different city if you plan on moving.
So definitely something that I have recently learned myself is that realtors have connections across the country in ways that attorneys, frankly, most of the time don't. So if you have a trusted realtor, if you want to reach out to Joe, even if you're interested in buying a property in, say, Florida, he's going to have some connection to a realtor there, which is amazing to me how you guys are so connected in that way, but somehow it works and it works great. So,
well, like you said, I'm not the expert in the other cities, but I know the experts in the other cities.
Right.
And it's good to know who can help you in other markets.
Right. So this has been Coffee with Kabara. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Radina's Bakehouse for making this coffee cup in Manhattan, Kansas, the wrong Manhattan. I made this coffee at home at 8 a.m. today. I'm trying to cut back on Starbucks, and this is still burning my tongue. So it's a very effective thermos. Could be a weapon. I did not tell you to use it that way, but shout out to Radina's for making the I'm going to pack soup in that from now on, not beverages.
There you go.
Thank you again for watching. Thank you, Joe, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And I will see you guys next month.
Take care.